I want to speak about our findings over the last 13 years dealing with hundreds of kids and young adults who have autism. While you need your medication, while you need your treatments, we forget the power of lifestyle. I'm not here to tell you today that what I have to say is a replacement for your treatments, but I'm here to share with you how people's milestones have actually gotten better when they add lifestyle to just being in the spectrum of being autistic. Just believing that there's one way or no ways of getting better. So I want to go over these points. I've made a whole list of them because over the years, whatever works, we constantly collect those changes. And we notice these commonalities between children that have autism, children who are on the spectrum, people who are deeply in the broad spectrum. And I'm going to share that with you today. It's not for you to stop your treatments. It's for you to have hope that, hey, can I make the situation better? I'm not here to tell you that autism can be reversed, but hey, there are a lot of people who have also been put into the wrong buckets because they display that spectrum. But hey, after they start to make lifestyle changes and certain parents refuse to believe they're yet in the spectrum, things start to change. That's hope and that's possibility. Number one, okay, there are certain cultures in the world that loves putting people into a box. That hey, if you have this condition, this is your label, and this is how you operate within that label. It defines you. Now, I'm not trying to defy this. There are some people who will fall in that broad spectrum category, but everyone behaves differently. We have to understand, and we need to understand our children are bio-individual, and so are adults. Everyone is different, which means what works for someone doesn't have to work for someone else. And if something doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean it won't work for someone else. We need to change our mindsets because when we're put in a box, we believe that this is how the life of autistic children need to be. This is what they should eat. This is the speech therapy they should do. This is the kind of education system they need to be in. But what happens when we decide to change lifestyle? What happens when you have tons of scientific reports showing you the connection between autism and gut issues? And how if we improve these gut issues, we can also improve the quality of life and even the behavior of these children and adults. So number one, what we're going to talk about today is the gut connection. I'm speaking to you very generally. I've taken out the most common points that have worked for children with autism who have come to us over the years. How has it worked? Given them a better quality of life, improved their behavior, improved their milestones. Number one is the gut connection. Getting off gluten and getting off dairy is extremely important. There is a direct correlation between autism, between the brain, between depression, between cognitive decline and the gut. We're all aware of this right now. Sometimes we need to check if our children are celiac or lactose intolerant. Because if they are, we're not just doing harm to their overall digestive system, but we're allowing their autism to actually define itself more strongly. So number one, I would prefer that people do a celiac test or a lactose intolerance test. Even if your child is not celiac and your child is not lactose intolerant, you want to reduce or stop dairy and you want to reduce and stop gluten. Now, when I say dairy, I'm talking about direct milk. If your child is okay with lactase that is found in yogurt, that's absolutely fine. But you want to see, and I tell all parents to do this because it's not a one shoe fits all. I've had so many children and we say, hey, get them off gluten and dairy for 2 weeks and tell me what you observe. There are so many parents who come back and say, Luke, it's unbelievable the change that's happening. And we don't keep them on gluten and dairy. And there are some who say there's no difference at all. So we slowly get them back into it. We also correlate the two. By removing gluten and dairy, does their constipation get better if they have constipation? Does their gas get better? Does their colic get better? It's important to observe what happens and not put ourselves into a box that everyone get off gluten and everyone get off dairy. But for a lot of children with autism, getting off inflammatory foods, especially gluten and dairy, makes a huge, huge difference. The second thing is, how do you add good fats to their diet? Because good fats help line the gut lining, and it also helps with the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, D, E, and K. It's extremely important. So whether I'm looking at my cold-pressed fats, whether it's an avocado oil or a coconut oil or a pure A2 ghee. It doesn't have to be a fancy oil, but it's got to be the right quality. Am I able to create a diet that contains good quality saturated fats and the monounsaturated fats, which will come in forms of your cold pressed olive oils? It's extremely important to have this balance, especially of saturated fats. Then your probiotics and your prebiotics. Am I telling you to put your kids on supplements right now? No. But if they need it, they need it. But we can get our prebiotics through our foods and our probiotics through our foods as well. So our onions, our pears, our apples, our fruits, our bananas, our sakras, our kimchis, our pure yogurts, coconut yogurt in case you're intolerant to lactase, our natural prebiotics and probiotics. One beautiful probiotic that has worked with almost all the kids and adults that we deal with, whether they have autism or not, is simple rice kanji, which you give them first thing in the morning. How do you make this? You have cooked white rice, you cool it. You take a tablespoon or two and you put it in a mud pot, a clay pot, okay? You fill it with water and you cover it. It ferments overnight, and in the morning, you give them the water to drink, and you can even give them 1 to 2 tablespoons to eat. This is a powerful probiotic, and it works really, really good with kids. You want to make sure that there are vitamin deficiencies found in children with autism and adults. One is omega-3. So if you're eating an omega-rich diet, which is found in your walnuts, your flax seeds, and your fatty fish, that's great. Otherwise, supplementing omega-3 under the supervision of your pediatrician or your specialist it's absolutely fantastic for the development. So you can look at omega-3. You want to look at garlic. If you can get garlic into your kid's diet, it is fantastic. You don't have to overdo it. A little bit of chopped garlic, fresh garlic added to their salads, their soups, that's great for them. Remember, children with autism have a problem breaking down amino acids, which means breaking down proteins. So if you notice they have digestive issues, if you're noticing that they're suffering from malnutrition, malnourishment, which means you're feeding them protein, but they're unable to absorb it, it's because the amino acids are not being broken down. So then you want to look at natural digestive enzymes like fruits like pineapple, banana, avocado, sakura, mango, and unpasteurized honey. Of course, you want to make sure you never give an infant honey. But pure unpasteurized honey is great as digestive enzymes to help your child break down protein. Then what are the kind of foods that we want to put in their diet that we've seen works wonders? Foods rich in antioxidants to reduce inflammation in the body. So from all of your fruits to your almonds, to your pecans, to all of your beans and your legumes, moringa, wheatgrass, vegetables, your crucifers, especially cabbage, broccoli, radish, cauliflower, kale in a cooked form or in a steamed form. This is extremely important. Now, there is one thing that we've noticed. I know it's difficult and I hate saying it because we feel sympathetic and we want to give our kids sugar. You need to understand the lesser refined sugar and refined flour you give them, it can only be better for them. And also when you're giving them junk food and candy, you want to be careful of colors, especially blue, red, pink, and yellow. You're going to find this in M&Ms, you're going to find this in gems, in candies. You want to be really, really careful of these colors because of the ingredients that have a direct link with the human brain. Autism, cognitive decline, and everything else. So there are many great options in the market. You can bake at home. You can find healthier versions of candy, healthier versions of sweets and desserts, but really, really try to cut down white refined sugar. It is not good. Forget about children with autism. It's not good for anyone. So what happens when we give a food that's not good for anyone to a child who has a sickness or has a disability? So we want to be really careful of these colors. I'm going to repeat those colors again. We are talking about blue, red, pink, and yellow. You want to be careful of that, and white sugar. If you are a mom who's still breastfeeding a child who's in the broad spectrum, please continue to breastfeed for however long you can because of the power of your breast milk, for the immune system, for the lauric acid and the caprylic acid. So if you are able to continue breastfeeding, please continue to do that. I know this may sound really funny, but something that really works, and I'm a huge believer of the subconscious mind. And I've had a couple of parents in Canada, the US, and India who swear by this. While your child is sleeping, it is so important for you to whisper your words of healing into their ears. Their most programmable state. Words like, you are healing, you are healthy, you are strong. Is this going to take away their autism? Absolutely not, but it is going to program their subconscious mind in a beautiful and a different way. Epsom baths. If you don't have a bathtub at home, once in a week or once in 10 days, put about 20 grams to 30 grams of Epsom salt into a bucket and let them soak their feet into Epsom salt water. This is extremely important for them. Also, ice cold baths are also great for them. There's so much of science and research. They don't need to chill. I mean, if they're okay to it, if they have sinus, if they have colds, please use that common sense and don't do it. But if your child likes cold water, once in a way, get them to have a cold bath with you. It's really, really good for them. Time in nature and the outdoors is extremely important. There is so many scientific studies showing us groups of children who are at home whole day and groups of children with broad spectrum who spend time in the outdoors, getting sunlight or nature. There's a huge difference in their behavioral patterns. Try to get them in the sunlight in the morning. Try to get them sunset in the evening. Try to get them to spend time in nature, which brings me to the next biggest one that is really, really messing up children and even pushing children towards spectrums. It is social media, and if it's not social media, it is iPad time. I want to take 2 minutes to relate a story to you. This is a real story, and I was shocked with the recovery of the child. In between lockdown, I had a really close friend, a business partner, reach out and say, "Hey, Luke, my child is, I think it was 2 or 3 years old, is showing all signs of autism. The doctor said he may be on the autistic spectrum," all of that stuff. They sent me videos of him because it was lockdown. I couldn't meet them physically. They lived in a different state in India. And I saw the child's behavior, videos of the child's behavior with family, with parents. It was a joint family with kids and everyone else. And then I moved to my next question because I felt something was wrong. How much of iPad time? 8 to 10 hours. What happens when you take away the iPad from the kid is my next question to the parents. Tantrums, helplessness, erratic behavior, violence, aggressiveness, throwing things. The doctors had already put him on the spectrum. The parents didn't want to move anywhere with anything. I work in integrative medicine. I'm not against Western medicine. I'm not against the medical system. But I told the parents, give me 2 weeks. And if you can commit to getting him off the iPad completely, handle the tantrums, do everything, let's see what happens in 2 weeks. We also checked his B12 levels and his D3 levels, which is the next point I'm coming to. They were critically low for a child. I sent a note to the pediatrician and said, we need this boy's levels up ASAP. So he started to supplement the child. 2 weeks was hell for the parents, not giving him an iPad. 2 weeks, he was not on the spectrum at all. Why do I tell you this story? Because sometimes we want to just believe what the diagnosis is. We can believe the diagnosis, but we do not have to always believe the prognosis. We need to look at what's moving us, healthy kids, into an almost autistic spectrum. iPad time, screen time, things that a child's brain is not made for, especially 8 hours. Forget about 8 hours. Even 2 hours is dangerous for a 2-hour kid, for a 2-year-old kid. And we need to understand that these are causing problems. And then we wonder, how did it happen? And why did it happen? Many times we don't know why, but today there are many reasons we know. A child on an iPad in a room that's dark. A child that's on a long flight who should be sleeping but is looking at bright lights all the time, stimulating the brain, affecting the circadian rhythm of a child. We need to wake up to these imbalances that we create in our own children. So if your child is on the spectrum, we have to. I understand it's difficult with parents. They say, Luke, we don't know how to control them, so we give them the iPad. Think about the days where there was no iPad. How did parents manage then? I know it's a challenge. I know how it is. I'm not in your feet. I'm not in your shoes. But please understand, if that healing is important to you, you need to limit screen time. You can see the damage it's doing to adults and teenagers. What is it doing to a child that is already on the spectrum, who is nearly on the spectrum? We need to put in that effort and control that. The next thing you need to do if your child is autistic today, check their B12 and D3 levels. I can guarantee you, most of their levels will be low. You need to go to your pediatrician and say, I need to fix it. I want their levels to come to the higher part of the range. And I promise you, most of you will start to notice an immediate change in their behavior. There is a direct correlation between low vitamin D3, B12, and their behavior. The last point is sleep. If they are on the spectrum and we are not building sleep hygiene, it is going to get worse. But if we improve sleep, it can get better. Finally, never forget the power of prayer. Never forget the power of faith, and never give up. It's easy for me to say that. I'm not in your shoes. But hey, I deal with parents and families who exhibit faith and prayer, and they have a very, very different outcome as well. So when we're looking at whatever it takes to heal, we do whatever it takes. Have a great day, everyone. Peace be with all of you.